Welcome to Chronicles of Old Singapore. This is Dr Loh KS, a historian. And in this podcast, I speak to people about their memories of Singapore before it became a global city. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. This will help us a lot. Today's podcast is part of our series, or of our kind of long-running series on the industrial history and memory of Singapore. And I always think that we haven't given enough credit and acknowledgement to the working men and women who made our industrial development possible. And so much has been said about the policies, but it's the policies, how they become reality, right, through the hands and the minds of the engineers, technicians, factory workers. So in the spirit of the People's Founders Memorial, let me welcome Quek Siow Kai to the podcast this morning. Siow Kai, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yes. So of course, Siow Kai was in the previous podcast on the 中文协会 of the Singapore 工艺学院. So that podcast was in Mandarin, and I'm very happy I don't have to speak Mandarin today. Actually, Siow Kai, can I just call you Siow Kai? Maybe it's easier. I think it's kind of more comfortable. Siow Kai is, Chinese ad in the beginning, but it's not really true. I speak to him, he's almost like bilingual, so I'm very glad to have him here with us to speak in English about his career and his memories as someone who was very important in our industrialization history. So welcome again, Siow Kai. Tell us, we were just talking about this earlier. Tell us how about your alumni of the Chinese Language Society. Were they very happy to hear your podcast?
Yes. I think they're happy that this is their real experience. They went through the poly for the 3 years, and then during the 3 years period, this is one of the memorable event or things that they had done in poly, as to join the CLS and participate in a lot of activities organized by CLS.
That's fantastic. Great to hear. So for the listeners, you can go to the channel and look out for those 2 episodes on the 中文学会. So let's get down to it then. This 3 years at the Poly. So for you, Siow Kai, besides the Chinese Language Society, how were your Polytechnic days like? Could you tell us, when did you go to the Singapore Polytechnic, and why did you go to the Singapore Polytechnic?
I graduated from my pre-university in 1971, and then planned to go to university. My result is okay, but my father passed away on that year. So it's a sudden thing to us. So the decision for me was try to get out to work, because I also need to support the family. But with the PU certificate, it may not easy to get a job at that time. So the one chance appeared, that is Poly. Poly at that time enrolled the student with A level into the second year. They call it a direct entry. That means a 3-year diploma course, we can finish it in 2 years. So I look at it as a good opportunity for me to lessen my studying period. So I enrolled into Poly and accepted by Poly. So I joined Polytechnic in 1972 and graduated in 1974 in mechanical engineering.
Yeah. So can I assume then that if you had gone to university, it would also have been engineering?
At that time, engineering is very difficult very competitive. my result may not be able to get into engineering, but maybe to the science stream or I'm not very sure because I not even apply. I know there's no way for me to go further to university at that time.
So when you went to Singapore Poly, what was your feeling about doing engineering? Were you very excited to do it, or you didn't really know much about engineering?
At that time, we don't really know because that is early 70s. Singapore, the education policy also trying to shift to the technical education. So in some of the secondary school at that time, they have this so-called technical stream. So in Sec 1, Sec 2, they learn metalworks, woodworks, and Sec 3, Sec 4, I think they do learn some technical drawing and all this. So when I went to Poly, two subjects is very tough for me. One is technical drawing because I have never touched any technical drawing during my secondary school because we are in the more academic. That means we learn science, maths, and all this. We don't learn technical drawing. So when I direct entry to second year, my classmate already learned the technical drawing from the first year. So second year, when I start having a drawing board with a T-square, the first time I see such a long ruler, and the drawing board is huge. Huh? So I really don't know how to start. And then the class is already second year. So all the basic thing they teach in year one. So I have to start trying to get myself get into this technical drawing. So I do spend a lot of time on that with the help with some of my classmates. And luckily, our lecturer at that time, he was also from a Chinese school, and some of the concept may be difficult to understand because this is already on the intermediate part of the technical drawing. So my English was not so good at that time. So he started to explain to me in Chinese privately, say why you must draw in this way, because you cut off so you see inside, the plan view from the top, you look on the top and like. So he explained some of the detail in Mandarin. That helped a lot because that let me understand the whole concept without the language barrier. So I really appreciate the help from the technical drawing lecturer who give me a lot of assistance at that time. So I managed to pass my technical drawing after a bit of struggling here and there. So, but that is a good experience for me. I mean, from there, at least I know how to read some technical drawing. I'm not talking about building drawing. I'm talking about mechanical drawing. That means, I mean, at that time, there's not like today, you got CAD/CAM and all this. You can just easily see the 3D, how you construct. But at that time, when you look at the technical drawing, the mechanical drawing, the internal detail is all hand drawn. So you must know, conceptualize the whole picture to have an idea on how the thing look like internally. So that's a good basic for me as a technician and as an engineer on my job later.
Right. Okay. So that is actually the technician's course, right? You get a diploma out of that. Right.
Yes.
Okay. And you said there's another thing, right? Another course that was very difficult.
Another course, I think it was the material science. Material science is tough also because of the language that we are not strong enough to understand more. The lecturer is Indian. I mean, he was a PhD holder from UK and then came back to Poly to teach. So I in fact don't really understand what he's talking. His English is too tough for me.
Mm.
I mean, the slang and all this, I totally not used to it. So I even asked some of my, classmates from the English stream. They say, I also don't know. They only understand about half of it, you know. So
Yeah.
for me, words, I can't even know 30% the most. I mean, a lot of things that is talking, I can't really catch it. And then we had to spend a lot of time to read ourselves because like material science is talking about different stages of matter, especially the iron, uh, different temperature, different pressure, then the status is slightly different, the property also change and all this. So there's a lot of descriptive information. So I had to go to library. And then at that time, library also not many books. The books that he used is a red spot book. Red spot book in Poly at that time means that you cannot borrow the book out. You can only use your Poly pass to borrow the book for 2 hours. Then after 2 hours, you have to return. So, but queuing out to borrow that book is a long queue. So sometimes you have to go very early. Uh, the Poly library open at 8. So you have to go in at 8 or 8:05, put in your card to reserve the red spot book. So quickly read, copy. At that time, there's no photocopying. Very expensive. One page maybe 50 cents. I can't remember, but there's no habit of photostat. We just copy, that page and then start copying the content of the book. And then go back, try to read it and understand because a lot of words, technical words that you use is new to us. And then the concept is also difficult for us to understand because of lack of understanding of the English words, the nouns and all this. So we have to look for dictionary. So the other way to do it is we start go and look for some Chinese book. At least we take off the language barrier. That means by reading the Chinese book, you know the concept, you know what they are talking about this metal property at different temperature and pressure. And then once you got the concept, then you come back and read the English book. You know what it's talking about.
So how do you find,
So
where do you find these Chinese books?
some of classmates, they're borrowing from Nanyang University at that time. Physics, because they study physics. So during the physics, I think they also learn about this matter structure, property, and all this. And then
Right.
these are very specific books, technical books. So not many library do have such books. So we have to go to the mostly university.
So I guess a lot of the studying was self-study or group study, right? It's not so much studying from directly so much the lecturers.
The lecturers, he come into the classroom and then he start talking, start writing something on the board. Then they don't care about the student, no attendance taking. So whether you miss a class or you don't go to the class, no one bother.
Yeah. One of the other podcasts, the former teacher was saying this is called chalkboard teaching, right? You teach to the chalkboard.
So
one thing I want to ask you though is, did your lecturers have experience in industry, in engineering?
No, I don't think so. These are all academia. So they have their PhD, so maybe they do some research and then come for teaching. So
I see.
a lot of them, I don't think they have actual industrial experience.
I see. So during your 2 years in the poly, were there any like practical experience?
In fact, on the first year, they have this so-called workshop practice. But I also miss it because I direct entry into the second year. So the workshop practice is poly, there's a workshop, that's this lathe machine, drilling machine, how to drill a hole, how to operate a lathe machine, and then some other machinery. These are those so-called uh, mm, uh, fabrication type of machinery. Then they learn some welding, solder welding, arc welding. But I understand 1 week only about 2-3 hours, and then you know some basic, like you know what is welding, and then at least you hands on, you touch it. Uh, my personal experience, because I never did this workshop practice, so when I went out to work, I remember I want to drill a hole, so I can try myself. During a hole, you need to have a punch to punch a small hole first, so the drill bit will not run away. So the drill bit, that small punch is to guide the drill bit to drill the hole. So I don't know that. So I straight away put on the drill bit and then try to drill. And then the drill bit
Ran all over the wall, is
keep
it?
on running all over the place. And then one of my colleagues laughing at me, he said, "Hey, this is your first time drill a hole?" I said, "Yes." I never drill a hole before. So, but through works, I think we learn a lot of this experience.
So you graduated in 74, and
Yeah.
that was not a good time to be finding a job, right?
Yes, yes. 74 was the oil crisis. Oil price shoot up very high. So private sectors, there's not many foreign investment. So I remember that batch, our batch or the next batch, 75, a lot of them had to go to government service, because at that time, the major employer recruiting polytechnician is the government service. Then a lot of private company at that time, diploma, this level is not an engineer, it's also not a worker. So in the private sector, they don't really create such a post in between, because normally they will promote those with experience, with hands-on experience, to become a supervisor or a charge hand or foreman. So for poly graduate at that time, you're supposed to fill this post, but in the private sector, there's not many these posts, because the fresh graduate from poly normally don't have experience. So you have to start from beginning. That means have some hands-on experience, then you can move on to the supervisory level type of job. So 74, I was lucky, managed to get a job after a few months. That is a textile factory. It's a new investment from, I think it's from Cambodia, overseas Chinese. I'm not really sure. But the technical part, all the technical expertise come from Taiwan. They are setting out a textile factory. So they got this yarn factory, and then there's textile factory. I mean, I was recruited to become one of the textile factory. So the boss is an engineer trained in US. I mean, but he was working in Taiwan textile factory for a long period. So he's like a factory manager or factory director, overall in charge of setting out this new factory. So he bring along a group of Taiwanese, I should say, engineer or technician, those with hands-on experience. So he recruited four of us, supposed to take care of the new factory eventually when they withdraw after a few years. So we start from beginning. That means when the factory is ready, we start moving. Like the factory, I remember is huge. It's almost I should say 50 meter by 30 meter. And then we start laying off all the textile machine, all the weaving machine. So that is something I learned a lot as a fresh graduate, like how to inline all the machine, how to install those machine in line. So we had to draw a line on the floor. How to do it? 50 meter long. How to do it? I mean, that was the first time. The Taiwan engineer, he take out a string, a roll of string, and then dip it into the ink, the Chinese ink,
Yes.
and then they pull, and then one point, another point, and then spring the string. Then it will become a straight line because you are holding at two ends. So that's a way to draw a straight line on the floor. So that's for you to lay the machine, take it as a guide, a line with the line to lay the machine, and then start mounting the machine. That's where I come to drilling hole. So they teach you how to drill a hole. You must punch a hole first before you drill it, put it in down. And then a lot of things like during the installation, we have to make use of some of the machinery. Like, okay, something slightly too big, we have to use a lathe machine to turn it down a little bit. So I have the chance to hands-on doing all this. So I think that's a very good opportunity.
What was the name of this company and where was it?
This is overseas textile company is along Al Raja and Pioneer Road. I think it's Pioneer. That's 50 years ago, 40, 50 years ago. So this is the time there's no AYE. So still the old Clementi, still a village. So there's the Al Raja Road, I remember, because we take company bus at Clementi area. So I had to took a public bus to catch the company bus. And then once we do the installation and then test out the waving machine, everything is okay, then we start the production. That is the tough part coming because we had to go on shift. I supposed to take care of one shift. One shift is about, I remember it's about maybe 200 over people. 200 over people include some operator. Operator are all ladies, young ladies, and then some with experience. And then about 3 technicians, and then a few laborers. So the shift is rotating shift. That means from morning 7 to afternoon 3, then from 3 to 11, then 11 to next morning 7. The problem I face is this is weekly rotating shift. That means every week you rotate your shift. It's not like you work 7 to 3, then permanently work 7 to 3. No. 1 week after, you will start doing the night shift. And then 1 week later, you start doing the second shift. So, I mean, it's very tough at that time. Physically, the night shift up to early morning, about 3, 4 o'clock. You really can't control yourself. Very tired, and then the environment is very noisy. I mean, the textile factory, because of the machinery, is very noisy. So outside the factory, that means within the factory itself, when you want to talk to people, you have to yell at them, or have to wave them, go to office, quieter area, then you start talking here. But the whole environment is very noisy. The factory itself, especially the textile factory, the weaving factory, because the machinery is keep on running, so the noise is terrible. We're supposed to put on a ear plug, but it's very uncomfortable. At that time, those ear plugs are not not in good quality. So you feel very uncomfortable at the time and then fall asleep. So it's a tough time for me lah.
It must be quite tough for the ladies as well, right? Was it tough for them, you think?
Yes, but for them, because they keep on moving, they have to take care of one whole row of the machinery. So they have to move around. And then, yes, we have some break, but most of the time, I think it's very tough for people to work on 3 shifts.
Yeah. Can I just understand? So were you in charge of the line?
I'm in charge of
Yes, you
the
were in
whole
charge of
factory
one.
that.
Right. Okay. The
Yeah,
whole
yeah, one
factory.
shift.
So
So
that
during the shift,
yeah.
I supposed to be the number one. Anything have to come to me. I have to make a decision to say go ahead, or some machine stop. The technician after repair, he say, cannot, he cannot do anything more.
Correct.
Had to wait for the morning shift, then you have to stop. So you have to come and tell me. So I have to, okay, you cannot do, okay, stop.
So
Rather
you are
than
actually not the technician, right? You were doing more. You were in charge of the line, right? You are not repairing the
yes,
machine. Yeah.
but because you have to know all the machinery first, how the thing work, and then so I was trained during the installation period, so you know how the machine function, and then the process, the textile, these factories, the whole process, like the initial part from the year factory come in, and then because I supposed to take care of the output, is it? So like this shift, what is the total output? And then if the output is low, then what's the problem? And then can I resolve? So basically, I'm in charging of the shift. So it's tough, as you mentioned. I only during the shift in the office, there's only one critical staff, because she need to record all the input and then output. Still a lot of thing going on. The process is ongoing. Is it? The factory process is ongoing. So there's the incoming material, uh, work in progress, and then finished good. So all this recording, there's one critical staff to do the recording. So she's in the same office as me. So the office, there's a glass, we can look at the factory. So you cannot sleep because everybody look at the office. If you are asleep, everybody know. So it's tough, especially as a young guy who just finish school, starting this job, and then you're supposed to take control of the whole factory at that time.
Yes. Yes, I think this is very interesting for me. The thing about the third shift, right?
Yes.
As I understand it, a lot of the third shifts came about a bit later, like 1980s, because they began to use more machinery, less labor intensive, and they want to maximize the machines, right? But I guess the point here is that although textiles is labor intensive, you are still using machines, aren't you? And you want to maximize the productivity of the machines.
Same concept as those electronic factory in the 80s.
Yes.
So this one, they also want to maximize of the machinery, because the machinery, you can run 24 hours as long as you maintain it properly, And then I think the depreciation, they got certain period of depreciation. So definitely, from the management point of view, you have to make full use of the machinery.
Yeah.
And then human labor, I think the cost is low. I mean, comparatively speaking, for buying machinery. So at that time, I remember a technician, one who in charge, my salary maybe just $300, $400, $300 maybe. I mean, I can't remember exactly, but it's very low.
Yeah.
But it's lucky you have got a job.
Would you say then, it was very profitable for the investors?
I don't know. I know the level. I just see, okay, things are moving good because of the machinery are new, so the output, I mean, when they set the target, normally we can meet
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
output.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, these investors, they are probably pioneer status, so
Yes,
they
yes,
are taxation. They have a holiday, right, for 5 years or whatever, or maybe a lot even
yeah,
longer, and then the land, JTC
yes,
built it.
yes,
The rent is not high anyway. The workers are textile garment workers are paid the lowest in the industry, and they are women. Women are paid lower than
yes, yes.
men. I don't know about how much you're paid, but there are not many of you, the those in charge of the
Only
shifts.
four of us.
Four of you, right?
Each one take care of one
Mm,
shift, and then one day shift take care
mm,
about the
mm.
maintenance of the machinery.
Yeah. So of course they provide jobs lah, and that's
Yes, yes,
good for the locals, but they must have made a killing.
yeah, yeah. I remember at that time the working environment was very tough.
Mm,
Not only the noise, also the dust,
mm,
because this textile machine. I remember I went to visit another factory. They are doing jeans, jeans, those blue color jeans. So the spinning itself, the waving itself, the whole room was all those blue dust. It's a fabric of the cloth
mm.
flying everywhere. So
Ah.
once you go in, you put on a mask, but later when you come out, your shirt, your shoe, your hair, everything is blue.
This dust is because it's not washed or what? What's the
No,
reason
no,
for
no.
the
It's
dust?
because of the waving of the cloth. Is using a shutter, uh, come forward and backward.
Oh.
So the shutter, I think is the year, the blue year. So during this movement, some of the fabric may lose.
Mm,
So I think there's no circulation, no like nowadays those electronic factory, because of the dust concern, they got this hyper filter, they got this so-called dust control technique and all this. But in the early 70s, in the textile factory, you go in to measure the dust. I think definitely is PMI. If we talk about PMI, 500 at least.
mm,
All the blue fabric, loose fabric flying everywhere.
mm. And you were actually wearing masks. The workers
We just
also
put on a
wearing
mask.
masks. Yeah.
Yes,
Mm,
yes. But they don't put on everything to cover. So you just go in 5-10 minutes, you
mm,
come out, your your head, your cloth, I mean your shirt, your shoe, everything covered by the blue fabric, loose fabric.
mm. That's one aspect I never heard of actually. So good to know that.
That is
Yeah.
they are doing those jean
Yeah.
material.
Yeah. Wow. And jeans were quite common, right? Jeans were a popular
Yes,
product. Yeah. Mm.
yeah, at that time, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Let's move on to how long did you stay there, and why did you leave? Of course, you had to leave already, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think I stay about 1 over year, 2 years. Once I feel that there's nothing much that I can learn. I mean,
Yeah.
basically, I understand the whole process. Machinery wise, I think once it install, it just run itself, and then with some maintenance. So there's really nothing much for me to learn. At that time, my concern is also okay. Uh, Once you stay, you just day in day out, you're doing the same thing. So
Mm.
that's why I left. I managed to have a job opportunity, then I left.
Yeah. So let maybe we can kind of talk about your mindset, right? Of those
Uh,
technical people and workers during those years. You went into technicals to support your family after your father passed away. And you talk about You must learn something. Like, it's not just about making a wage, and therefore you
Yes.
change the job. What was your mentality at the time? Did you have like a thinking, I want to reach this goal in a number of years, or I want to be in this position in a number
Uh,
of years? Mm,
Not really. The time I still young, just
mm,
early 20s. So the thinking is try to learn more technical things. Since I mean I know some of the basics of the mechanical machinery, so our subject is also more theoretical. But
yeah,
the hands-on part is that what we lack. So that time the mentality is okay, if there's a chance for me to learn more in terms of hands-on experience, that is what I'm looking for.
yeah.
So later on, I managed to go into the shipbuilding industry. That is where I really learned a lot from there as
Ah,
a technician.
how important were the wages in your reckoning?
At that time, the wages is not high. I think in the mid 70, a technician salary is
Mm,
300, 400, around that region.
mm, mm,
I remember I went into the shipyard. It was lesser than what I did in my textile factory. Because on the textile factory, your position is different. You're supposed to in charge of the ship. And then in the shipyard, you work as a technician. Uh, Basically, I mean, at that time, the post of a technician in a shipbuilding yard is you take care of a group of fitter and then do the installation, commissioning, testing of the machinery on board the ship. So for a technical guy, that is a very good uh, hands-on experience
mm,
because in the mid 70s, Singapore shipbuilding was just started. Because of the British withdrawal, the naval base withdrawal,
mm,
so Sembawang shipyard, Keppel shipyard, all these will become government owned. And then they started a lot of shipyard investment from Japan, like the IHI start the
mm,
Jurong
mm,
shipyard.
mm,
So shipping industry, shipbuilding and ship repair industry was a popular industry at that time from the mid 70s onwards.
mm,
So I managed to join a shipbuilding company, uh, building a new ship scrap from laying the first steel plate till the ship sell off. So this involved a lot of different trade. I think the hull, that means the steel structure part is one major trade. Then machinery is one major trade. And then the piping, lay out all the piping, because the ship is like our house. Uh, it move on independently, and then people stay on board the ship.
mm,
So those functioning is like a building.
mm,
But beside that, it have its purpose. Like we build is those mini bulk carrier. This mini bulk carrier is carrier those loose cargo. So you got
ah,
a big hatch on the ship.
mm,
The ship is about the new ship is about 150 meter in terms of length. So machinery side, I take care of about 4, 5 fitter. But among them, there's one charge hand. He's an experienced guy,
mm,
but no qualification.
mm,
They work from the ground. That means they they may be starting work before 2016, 17. Follow the Sifu, follow the master,
mm,
and then with experience. So later he lead a few fitter, young fitter or old fitter, and then I work as a technician, lead this group, but I also had to coordinate with other section, like those piping section, those outfitting. Outfitting is the section that did all the uh, renovation. I mean, like our house renovation, because there are ship crew that are going to stay on board. So their room, all the flushing system, all their daily living necessity is all need to be installed. So the outfitting people, there are carpenter there, there are furniture people there, you know. So normally, I mean, I in charge of one ship, one project. From the laying of the first steel plate to ship sail is about 18 months. I remember because I do in charge of one start from beginning until the end. So for the machinery, we have to once the hull is built, we have to start loading all the machinery into the ship, the hull. The hull is still on the land, but because all the engine room, all the machinery is normally at the lower deck. So once a ship launches to the water, you cannot do anything anymore. So we have to leave all the machinery on board, and then the hull people will start building the upper deck. Then all this will be covered already. So we have to do a lot of planning, coordinate with them. When are they going to cover all this? Then we have to move in all the machinery before.
Very interesting. Yeah.
The exciting part is the launching of the ship. I like that. That is very exciting because imagine the ship is about 150 meter. Yeah? They are on shore. So want to push them down to water. It's a very special skill. So this launching contractor, they have to lay the launching wood and then put a lot of wax, oil, and all this.
Yeah.
And then those machinery that we already put on board, we have to secure it very tight. You cannot have loose thing. Everything have to secure. So then they use a tugboat to pull, to give an initial, to pull the whole ship. And the whole ship will slowly slide down into the water. Then no one is on board because it's dangerous. You may have accident may happen.
Right.
So we have to watch closely, make sure everything is okay. So the launching, imagine when the ship hit the water, everybody will start clapping. You have to make sure there is no leaking, otherwise the ship may sink.
Yes.
So first thing, I'm in charge, so we have to quickly go on board to go inside the engine room, make sure that those machinery that you have leaving earlier is still secure, it's still not damaged. So that is the first part. And then the second part is you have to start working on the machinery, make sure everything is go according to the plan, and then do the installation, and then the piping people, the how people do welding job, piping also a lot of welding.